Festival TV continues to interview intriguing and dynamic filmmakers, and in this episode we meet two directors. First out, we have Indian-Canadian-born director Nisha Pooja, who talks about her latest documentary, The World Before Her, where she illustrates the similarities and contrasts between a beauty pageant and a fundamentalistic religious camp in India.
To be a Miss India must become like a little factory where you go inside and you're polished like a diamond to the best that you can be polished to. Should we go with the old world, or should we go with the new world?
You know, on the surface, these two worlds seem very different, you know, and the women in these two worlds seem very different. But what's really interesting is, you know, as I sort of got deeper into the research and spoke more and more to these women, I started to realize that they were more similar, you know, that there were more similarities between the worlds than differences. And that's kind of what was so compelling to me as a filmmaker.
Going back and viewing these two subcultures of India, is it something that surprised you that this was the way it is and you know, the way it's going to be? Or, you know, what did you take with you from having done the film?
What becomes really clear to you as a person and as a filmmaker, your job is always to sort of be on the outside, kind of looking in. And then you realize that in a country like India, where everything is so nuanced and so complex, that truth is so difficult to really kind of pinpoint and figure out, you know? But both of the worlds were surprising to me, both of, in terms of their complexity, you know, and the dualities that exist within them, and the fact that they're so gray. They're not black or white, either one of them.
I think I'm getting better than you.
Now, let's not get ahead of yourself here, okay? I'm certain I'm being recorded. I'm certain I'm being followed.
What's wrong with this guy?
What makes you think there's something wrong with him?
Because he thinks he can go back in time.
What are you going back for?
The mission has to do with regret, mistakes.
No matter how tempting it will be,
We're never, ever gonna
say, hey, leave your Star Wars figurines in the box because they'll be worth like hundreds more.
What's your fascination with the 80s and also, you know, the difference between films made then and sort of this decade?
I think that's just a very natural result of having grown up during that decade. I mean, these are my influences because these are the movies that I watched, and there was a way that fantastic things were presented as reality, and there were very real characters who were you know, surrounded by either, you know, science fiction or fantasy and things like that, and I think a bit of that was lost in the 90s, and as movies have gotten, you know, bigger and more expensive and heavier, I think a lot of the humanity has been sucked out of them, and that's been changing recently, and I think we've been moving a little bit back towards what made those movies great, and you know, I think that's, you know, that's what you want to do in any movie. You want it to feel real, and you want people to feel like they're watching other human beings on the screen. And I don't think that has to be only small independent dramas that do that. I think movies with aliens in it can do that too.
We all know you're a very big Star Wars fan, and
Yes.
the rumors say that...
The rumors say.
Rumors say, we have to put it on the record, that it says that you might potentially be
this.
a candidate for the director of the next Star Wars movie.
All I can speak to on that is that I am a huge Star Wars fan, and I was a child, you know, as those movies became a part of our world, and there's something very unique about people who were children at that moment and how it became almost our belief system, and how so much of what we know is grounded in those stories, and there's actually a real connection to Safety Not Guaranteed. You know, obviously, like, there's Star Wars references in the movie, but I think, you know, beyond that, you know, this is a character who's stunted at a certain point in his life, and I think that, you know, he's the guy that keeps his Star Wars figures in the box. And I'm not, like, I'm the guy whose Star Wars figures are all buried in the backyard and are missing limbs, and yet I think that there's a commonality amongst my generation in particular, where we haven't quite been able to grow up, and we haven't quite been able to leave that behind, and we're all, like, kind of big kids.
Wyatt, Captain America, Easy Rider. Yes, I'm talking about the legendary and iconic actor Peter Fonda. We had the pleasure of meeting this charming man who has a large sense of humor, but who also showed an emotional side when we talked about his father, legendary actor Henry Fonda.
I was born famous. I was born Henry Fonda's son. I had no idea who that was.
What was it like working with your father?
It was hysterical. Wanda, Nevada is a fairy tale set in a modern Western background. And my dad came down to shoot for one day. And I arrived, I was directing and acting in the film. I said, Dad, here, now you're supposed to be chewing tobacco. And I know you're dying, and I don't want you to chew tobacco, so I've got this licorice, because I knew he loved licorice, all ground up. You just put that in your mouth, you spit that out, the camera sees that as tobacco. Nope. He pulled up a bag of regular tobacco. It was Red Man. He said, Cosby, Bill Cosby. Cosby gave me this, and I'm going to use it. I said, Dad, you don't need it. This works. Nope. He did his scene. We had a wonderful time shooting, and we broke for lunch. And my father crashed, literally fell down in his dressing room, and because he had been doing the chewing tobacco. Foolish man. About 2 weeks later, I got a letter from him. It was probably the 5th letter that I'd gotten from him in my life. He said, in my 41 years of making motion picture, I have never seen a crew so devoted to the director. And you're a very good director, son. And I want you to think of me as part of your company. And I love you very much. Oh, it was amazing to me. So that's what it was like. The one day I got to work with my dad, we connected so incredibly well. Yeah.
Don't forget to join us next time for the next episode of Festival TV, where we meet praised British director Sophie Fiennes and talk about her latest documentary, The Pervert's Guide to Ideology. Just the title makes you curious. Don't miss it.